the religious bodies for whatever they have to say in regards to the COVID-19 and the governmental bodies as well also ought to be blamed because this coronavirus we are talking about is not a natural thing that just came from the blues. This was what was developed in the laboratory. So we should understand that, in as much as religious body are criticizing and at the same time seeing it as a conspiration, we should not forget that what was the reason? These are the questions that needed to be asked. Why was it in the full system that this particular virus was developed in the laboratory? What was their motive? These are the things that we should look before we can totally castigate the religious body. However, the fact on the ground is that the coronavirus is everywhere now.
Okay.
That's one thing that everybody should understand, and we should let it sink into our system that okay, the outbreak is here already. The best thing that we could do is to prevent it. And what do we do to prevent it? Like they said, these are measures. We have taken some measures, but at the same time, they said that we must vaccinate. Why do we have to vaccinate? We have to vaccinate so that we can prevent it from infecting us. But however, you know that in some countries we saw that the adverse effects in some people, why the country said no, they put a stop to it. Holistically, I think it should be optional.
No, the vaccine is not compulsory.
No. Don't make the mistake. It's compulsory. One way or the other. When if you have to travel, you must show an evidence, a certificate that you have been vaccinated before you can ever go out of the country or you can ever enter any other country.
Well, I think at this point, as of now, it's not yet like a must. What do they have to do is to make sure you have done a COVID test.
You have done a COVID test. You see, what we have seen over the time and what we've had, it's unfortunate that the leaders of the world, they use human beings as experience in so many fields, and at the same time, they make money through us. Because we heard that vaccine is one of the areas through which, monies are made. Now you can see the billions of dollars that has been invested into vaccine. Instead of us looking at how can we make life better for the people. Why is it that this is the route that we have to go at this point in time when we say there is economic downturn in the world? So why is it now even Nigerian government, all they are singing now is vaccine?
Well, you have to put into fact that you have to factor in that we are currently faced with a pandemic, not just Nigeria, but the world at large.
The world at large, that's what I'm saying.
Is faced with this pandemic. So that means that right now, the major conversation is to be able to make sure the world is COVID-19 free. That's one of the news I'm anticipating to hear, that the world has been declared COVID-19 free. And from the report, we're still going to be dealing with this until 2022.
The world cannot be free until that vaccine is being sold out, until you are now being vaccinated, until it is clearly known that yes, let's say minimum of 80% of the world population has been vaccinated. They will not declare it free. We must understand that. That's the angle the religious body are coming from. And if they are able to develop this in the laboratory, what do you expect people to see that? Well, the problem we have is that over the time, we human beings at large in the world, we tend to just taking whatever the government do. We don't criticize them when they do certain things, and that is why everything that is happening to us is happening the way it's happening. And that's what is also playing out in Nigeria. We don't stand up to say no to certain things, and until we are able to say no to certain things, you have just a body, what the pathology department, that all they do in that place is how to invent viruses.
Well, that's science for you.
No, you see, it's science for you, but not the pathology. You're not talking about science that would destroy the people. The science should be something. It should be a technology that will improve the life of the people, not something that will be taking life away from the people. Not something that people have to be running scatter for. Okay, you saw what happened in the course of the COVID. There was shut down all over the world. The world was shut down.
Yes,
and you saw what played out. And now, what are we talking about? Is that what science is all about? No, science should not be destructive.
It should be improving lives.
That's the truth.
All right, thank you. 14 minutes past 8. This is still the newspaper review on Women Radio WFM 91.7. Do well to be part of this conversation here today by sending us a text or a WhatsApp message on 070-317-56537. Doctors' strikes begin. NARD meets National Assembly over unpaid allowances. So the leadership of the National Association of Resident Doctors on Wednesday met with the joint Senate and the House of Representative Committee on Health behind closed doors to discuss the impending strike about the health workers. This is just as the strike called by the NRD comments today. Officials of the Federal Ministry of Health, Finance, Budget Office, and National Association of Medical and Dental Council also attended the meeting. The chairman of the Senate committee, Senator Ibrahim Oloriegbe, told correspondent that both sides resolved most of the issues that led to the strike threat. He also says here that the resident doctors had also pledged to brief their members about the outcome of the resolution with the lawmakers. He says, yes, we met and we resolved most of the issues. The NARD promised to go back to brief their members with our resolution and understanding of calling off the strike. Oloriegbe, who also briefed journalists after the marathon session, said various committees had been set up to resolve all issues concerning doctors. He said, of course, there are a lot of demand that are contained in the communique issued by the NARD, but we have looked at the key ones that concerns members of the NARD. We have resolved them, and all others that we did not go into details. We have agreed to have further discussion on go on between the NARD and other relevant agencies of government, particularly the Ministry of Labor, Health, and Finance. The question is, this ultimatum had been given 60 days ago, right? The ultimatum had been given 60 days ago, and it took like the week of, when the ultimatum was going to end for there to have all of this concrete meeting. I really want to understand, because the demands that have been made, arrears of allowances that have not been paid since as far back as 2019, ensuring that there is vouchers for persons, doctors, and workers who have lost their lives in the service, right? Moving their hazard allowance from 5,000 to 50% of their basic salary. These are demands that are not just reasonable. The word is not reasonable. Agreed. There shouldn't be this long battle for why this is, and I think it's pretty shameful on the government when you see that the hazard allowance paid to doctors who put their life on the line during COVID. Some of these doctors have not, their hazard allowance for COVID has still not been paid to today. And this is one of the most important sectors of the country, and we are still like in a very backward state. Christian Gigad, one mentioned, said, "Oh, we had enough doctors," and I'm wondering how much impact his presence at this meeting would have at resolving these issues, because we have had less regard for our health practitioners. We have fantastic doctors, very fantastic medical practitioners, and one of the most annoying thing, which I don't think the government is understanding, is there are a lot of doctors and nurses who are getting trained here in Nigeria, going abroad and doing wonders. I remember specifically speaking with one of the authorities in the nursing association, and she was talking about every of the nurse that has left this country to other countries of the world. The only report they get is excellent reports about them.
Then you see, this is Nigeria problem. It's quite unfortunate that where we find ourselves at the moment is something that you and I, we are crying now. And I think it's not too late, but we ought to have been crying over the years. Like I said, if we don't stand up, this problem will continue. Looking at the doctor's plight, it's not just the remuneration, it's not just their welfare alone, even the environment where they work, even the apparatus that they use in working, are they there? Do you understand? So these are the problems we are talking about. That is why the president of a nation could leave the country and look for medical help outside the country, somewhere else. If they are so concerned about Nigerian medical system.
Yes.
There is no reason why we are not fighting for our rights. We're not doing the right thing in the right way. And feel what I expected is that the Nigerians in diaspora, I had Senator Sonny was trying to speak to Abike Dabiri, that he should please stop the people in diaspora not to humiliate, embarrass Muhammadu Buhari in England. But he said he has to stop, due to some reasons. You see, until we are able to fight back, this thing will continue. Talking about the welfare of the doctor, it has been something I remember in the days of Beko.
Okay.
When he was the leader, he fought this same problem, and these same problems is still persistent to date.
Is this a function of the successive government in power or the authorities who represent the medical practitioners?
No. It's the government. What can you talk about the authority that represent the medical personnel? They have always been fighting. There's hardly any regime that this issue doesn't come up. There's hardly any regime. But the fact is that the government are not interested in the populace. They are only interested in themselves. You can see what they take home. You see their severance pay. You see their medical bills. You see their security votes. All these, because it is them, yeah, they can have that. But when it comes to the others, they don't see the reason why they should live, why they should be happy, why they should be comfortable. That's what has been playing out. You see, I always tell everybody that comes around me, I said, look, especially those mania workers, I said, look, Nigeria, which what God has blessed us with, no Nigerian is meant to be doing a mania work. We are meant to be living the way they are living in Saudi Arabia, in Dubai. Honestly, with the natural resources, human resources, we are not meant to be. The other countries ought to be the one, the neighboring countries ought to be the one coming to do this work like we had.
They call us the giant of Africa.
The giant, they call it giant of Africa. It's not because of the population alone, but because of the resources that we have. But the resources we have are not being used for the betterment of the people. You saw what is playing out in Zamfara. You can see what is playing out somewhere in Osun State, where the resources, some people are mining it and taking it out illegally, and they are enriching themselves and their cronies. And yet, the people within the enclave are in abject poverty. So these are the problems we have been having. It is not only in the medical line alone. We remember even before the COVID, even during the COVID, the teachers' case. So a lot of things is happening until, like they said, let there be a restructuring. We must restructure, not just only restructure the ethnical biasment or no, even regarding the work parameters. It must be restructured. We must be able to put some things in place that, look, for this so set of people, this thing must always be available. The moment it's not available, the authorities should be responsible. They should be able to go to court. They should be able to fight for the right, and it must come out. All them stand still. But Nigeria government, they will always come. Like we have our Minister of Information, when they tell us, well, what you can see clearly that is black, they'll tell you it's white. So these are the problems we are having. And until we are able to have the people that are truthful, that are sincere in government, this problem will always reoccur.
The newspaper review, 23 minutes past 8. This is the newspaper review on Women Radio WFM 91.7. Please do well to be part of the conversation this morning. Send us a text or a WhatsApp message on 070-317-56537 to be part of the headlines of the newspaper review here this morning. We go straight into more of the dailies as we expect your text and WhatsApp messages to come in. Let's talk about the report by Britain with regards to talking about expressing concern with regards to, so there have been indications on several, on the Punch newspaper particularly, with regards to the United States has accused authorities in Nigeria of massive corruption and stiffening of free speech in 2020. The headline of the Punch says PDP orders carpet federal government at US alleges massive stated that this stated this in this 2020 country report on human rights practices released on Tuesday and was made available to the Punch on Wednesday. In separating the views on Wednesday, the opposition People's Democratic Party and a former president of the Committee for the Defense of Human Rights berated the regime of Muhammadu Buhari, expressing concern about corruption in Nigeria. The US in the report stated that it was widespread and pervasive at all levels of government, including judiciary and security services. Against the backdrop of President Muhammadu Buhari's regime anti-graft stand, the US Department of State, which authored the report, said there was numerous allegations of government corruption last year. It cited the arrest of investigation of the former acting chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Ibrahim Magu, for graft. It observed that many corruption cases, particularly high-profile ones, remain pending before the court due to administrative or procedural delays. The report stated that although the laws provide criminal penalties for conviction of corrupt officials, the government did not consistently implement the law, and the government employees frequently engage in corrupt practices with impunity. It says massive, widespread, and pervasive corruption affected all levels of government, including judiciary and security services. There were numerous allegations of government corruption during last year, accusing the federal government of stiffening press freedom. The report stated that political leaders instructed security forces to harass journalists covering sensitive topics such as human rights abuses, electoral malpractice, high-level public corruption, and war against terrorism. It states security services detain and harass journalists, sometimes for reporting sensitive problems such as political corruption and security. Security services, including the Department of State Services and the police, occasionally arrested and detained journalists who criticize the government, while noting that the Constitution and law provides for freedom of speech and press. The US said that there were reported cases in which government abridged the rights to speech and other expression. Well, this report by the United States, it's particularly not new to some of the things, and I like the fact that they focused on 2020, which was the year where a lot of things were exposed. The corruption of this administration was better highlighted according to several reports with regards to how palliatives were handled, the state of the health sector, the ill equipment of this particular, and they have actually made some very weighty allegations against the Department of State Services here with regards to, talking about the security services and corruption. They made reference to, and I think it was a big slap on our face that, Ibrahim, former EFCC boss, could have been, there's a case for him to answer with regards to corruption too. That is the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission boss being arrested for corruption or being held for corruption also. And that was a big slap to, whatever fight that we have been fighting. But then I'm sure by tomorrow, we most likely might get a response from one of the presidential spokesperson with response to what has been said here. Because when the Transparency International, made several comments on, the level of corruption in Nigeria and spoke about how it was. We saw the response of Lai Mohammed, the response of Garba Shehu. These individuals, particularly, and I think it was you who say that their job is to, defend the country, put the country in a particular image. But with reports like this and this particular allegations, hitting at the global level, because when the US makes a report about something, it is recognized globally. A lot of other countries will take cue from it. Investors will take cue from this. What is the impact of the fact that a lot of African countries now, not just Nigeria, have not been able to get to the point? I think the last, before Thomas Sankara and before or after Thomas Sankara and after Nelson Mandela, these individuals took a stand on corruption and, fought it wholeheartedly. We have other African leaders across other places in Namibia, Nairobi, who have, taken Kenya, who have taken certain concrete stand on the fight against corruption. What is the impact of this consistent report or the inconsistency of government to persecute political criminals?
Well, it's disheartening most times when you hear reports such as this coming out from the United States at this particular time. It's going to be very difficult for the government to prosecute these people you're talking about, because a house that is divided against itself cannot stand. These are the people that are in the government. These are the people that are making the government what it is today. And looking at it all, you cannot throw a stone to a glass house. Most of the people you're talking about, the corrupt allegation you're talking about, is from the people who are in this same government that we are today. So when in the United States, the level of corruption, they have only just been able to point out the ones that are obvious to you and I. What about those ones that are going underneath through so many transactions that are going on day in, day out? Even as we stand today, do you know the numbers of barrels of crude oil that is being produced in Nigeria on a daily basis? You don't. Do you have the information? You don't. These are the areas where the corruption is really high. A lot of things is wrong. And when you talk about the Mangus case, how do you, he that wants to come to equity must come with what? With a clean hand. You want to prosecute Mangu, you that want to prosecute him, your hands are soiled. That's what played out. That's why that when you see that when somebody is being alleged of corruption, if the person has one or two information regarding their own corruption, you see that they drop that issue. The issue dies there. It's unfortunate that Mr. President said he wanted to come and clean Nigeria of corruption. That was the theme of his campaign. But as it is, whether we like it or not, you see, we have been known all over the world to be a corrupt nation. And that is why you see, it's not going to affect us totally negatively. You know why? Because there are some people also who take largesse, who enjoy, who are profiting from this corrupt nation of Nigeria. I'm talking about the investors.
Okay.
I'm talking about the investors. These foreign investors
are profiting from the corruption.
Yeah, because why? They know that whatever they do in the secret in connivance with the government. So with that, they are able to take a lot of things out.
One of the things that comes to mind now when you talk about foreign investors profiting from the corruption in the system is the conversation that was on the dailies. I think it was on Monday, with regards to the fact that we are importing syringe and needles. And NAFDAC actually gave license to companies in India and China, whereas we have 7 licensed companies in the country. If the working environment and the conditions of the countries were favorable, these 7 companies which have been licensed can actually be competitive enough to beat what is coming in from China and India.
That is it. That's what I'm telling you. You see, the corruption we are even talking about, United States, if they want to actually help us to address this issue, they need to address it from Britain. Because what we have today, the problem we have today in Nigeria, was created by the British. So this problem of corruption, it is the handwork of the British. Because why? If you decide you could plant some people, a particular tribe in a place, just because you want to be able to manipulate them, because the other tribes you feel that they are exposed, they are learned. So for that reason, they will always query whatever you have to do, which might be contrary to the will and the good of the people. And you see, this is corruption.
You know, when you talk about the British, I'd like to go back to as far back as maybe 1840, or go back to 1760s, 1760, when there was a lot of the British Empire in Nigeria. I recently saw a movie of the invasion of is it 1987 or 1897, of the Oba of Benin,
No, Benin, yeah.
who was, you know, what's the word now when they tell
The truth.
who was dethroned and asked to leave,
Yes, exile. Banished.
in Calabar,
Yes.
and which actually bet, you know, the what brought about a lot of the artworks in Benin becoming popular.
Yes.
And then I think of it so much of, you know, the British Empire in its totality had some very positive agenda, but we cannot factor out the human in some of the individuals, you know, that particularly had other agendas, irrespective of, you know, there was essence for dominance. You know, there were I particularly paid attention to the songs the soldiers of the British Empire particularly sang in with regards to, you know, no one can overthrow Britain, no one can overthrow the Queen, you know. And there was, I can't remember particularly line for word the particular. I'm like, okay, why that mindset?
Now, let me tell you an aspect of corruption that the British actually implanted in Nigeria is when they put a round peg in a square hole. What am I talking about? Uh, the people that were educated in that era, they were not part of the House of the Common, which was the House of Assembly in Nigeria. They were not allowed to be part of it. Who are the people that they brought in? They brought in the Obas, the emirs, all the people that were not learned. Then we had the Awolowo, the Abad Macaulay, we had all these Nnamdi Azikiwe, all of them. They were not allowed, and that was what brought the first fight in the Western region. There, when they said no, these people cannot continue to dictate to us. They don't know what they just go there, they warm the seat, and come back with whatever British has to say. Nobody is countering whatever they are saying in the house. So that was what led them. So what I'm saying is that when you're talking about, yes, they had good intention, but what was their ulterior motive? They wanted something out of us. And how could they get it? Is by corruption, one way or the other, which I called round peg in a square hole. It's corruption. That's corruption, because when you don't put the right thing in the right place, it's corruption.
All right, this is still the newspaper review, Women Radio WFM 91.7. Let's still talk about that report for a moment. The report from the United States, they particularly emphasized on the freedom of speech. And it says the authorities in the North at times restricted free speech by labeling it blasphemy. It stated, noting that critics were subjected to threat, intimidation, arrest, detention, and sometimes violent. Something played out in Bauchi State. I think on Tuesday.
That guy that was being taken away from the prison, from the police cell,
yes,
and set ablaze.
Yes,
you can imagine that.
Now, as much as, you know, some of these regions have been highly infiltrated by religion. Right, religion has taken a more higher calling over the law in some of these regions of the country, in the geopolitical zones of these states. We have seen where religion has more, the religious institution or the religious laws have been able to overpower the state laws, right? Because the right thing to do was to take the man to the police station, irrespective of their religious belief. But the activities of this particular issue, you know, there is somebody right now, I think, in Katsina State, which the governor has still not signed his death sentence.
Yeah.
Yes, the governor has, and that headline just died off the dailies. And I'm sure the governor is particularly, I'm not necessarily speaking for the governor, but it would cost the governor nothing to sign it, but he understands the implication of taking another person's life. How do we draw these lines between this religious laws and state laws? How do we draw the line?
Daniel, it's quite unfortunate. We should not forget the fact that Nigeria is a secular state. That we all need to understand Nigeria is a secular state, and there is a law that governs Nigeria. There is what is called the ground norm, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Every other laws is meant to be subjective
Okay.
to the law, to the ground norm. So when you're talking about religious law, it ought not to supersede in any way.
Oh, Jen, just to point out something really clear, because I just thought of it right now, is I don't think it's a religious law to set anybody ablaze because they speak against the religious.
Excuse me, Daniel. I won't take that from you. Well, okay, now if it's not a religious law that they should set ablaze, why will the youth say because this person has
this is a mob by angry youth?
No. The law is meant to curb you.
Okay.
Do you understand? That's what the law is meant to do. The law is meant to tell you the extent to which you can go.
Okay.
What you can do and what you ought not to do. That's what the law is meant is there for. The law is there for you, not to take the other person's life. The law is there for you so that we can cohabit with love. That's what the law is there for. The law is to tell us that, okay, where your own ends, somebody own starts. So you don't go further than where within the confines of the law that you operate within. But as it is now, what we have been seeing playing out in the north is that the religious law supersedes the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And it is what is causing the biggest problem in the north and Nigeria today. Until we make it understandable that every law is subject to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Every law must operate within the sections of the Constitution of Nigeria. Every law, no matter what the law, even the laws of the state, cannot be inconsistent to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The moment it's inconsistent with it, that law becomes void ab initio. So now we are not talking about religious law. Every law that is contrary to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria cannot stand. So they should do something. Nigeria is a secular state. Nigeria does not belong to the Christian, does not belong to the Christian, to the Muslim. It does not belong to the traditionalist. It belongs to all. So the life of every individual. That's why in chapter 4 of the Constitution, it is clearly stated there. We're talking about fundamental human rights. Everybody has a right to live.
Okay.
The only time that any life can be taken away is when it's been pronounced by a competent court of law. And when you do something in that regard, that the penalty to pay for it is taking the person's life.
Capital punishment.
That's capital punishment. Or when you're talking about, okay, where there is when the soldiers goes to war, all this stuff, when there is war, yes. Or when a prisoner does something, these are the reason why you can take another man's life. Or whereby you're talking about, okay, maybe self-defense.
Okay.
That's a ground. But not that you just go take somebody and take the life out of that person. Who are those people that perpetrated that act? They must be apprehended. They must be prosecuted.
They overshadowed the police.
Excuse me. Excuse me. What is the essence of the law? If the law says the moment that you see that you are as an officer of the law, a police officer, and you realize that your life is at stake, then you are meant to fight back. That's what the law says. What happened? What played out in NSAS here? They did not even have guns. All they did was just sit in, they gathered in, that's what they did. And they could open fire on them. Now these people are coming to attack just because there's somebody in the station and they're attacking the police and they could not fight back. You see that the law, to some extent, in Nigeria is biased. That's the honest truth. Nigeria is a secular state. We must understand that. And that's the way it's going to be operated.
Okay. This is the newspaper review on Women Radio WFM 91.7. Do well to send us a text or a WhatsApp message on 070-317-56537. Let's take all of your messages right now. Taiwa, I believe we have messages.
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Chief Chima from Ikorodu said, "Good morning, Women Radio. Please, where is our dear country heading to? Medical doctors embarking on strike from today. Terrible hunger in the land. Herdsmen shedding innocent blood. Terrorist activities, including kidnapping, are the order of the day. What are the federal government in order to have our country inhabitable?" Chief Chima Ezenwaka from Ikorodu. That is his message. And also, we have some WhatsApp messages. It said, "Good morning, dear presenters. Until governments take action against the killings of ordinary Nigerians, the elites will also continue to live." This is from Rose from Alakwere. Jokes from Agboro said, "Some misguided individuals that doubles as government apologist has already joined the bandwagon without knowing the full meaning or the content of statements. The US by saying that the Lekki toll gate massacre was a fallacy." This is from Chooks from Ikeja. Bonjour newspaper crew. There should be financial compensation from CNN for the Lekki toll gate false news. This is from Mr. Wale from Baroa Island. The report only reinforced some of those things we always have been talking about. Let the special advisors and our leaders keep deceiving themselves. There are always consequences for any action or inaction. Sam from Ikotun. Good morning. I think Lagos State has new ideas into the security in Nigeria by introducing body camera governor. Governor Sanwo-Olu, well done, from Adishino from Ikorodu. Government that asks citizens, what can you do? The red monster on the red horse with sword is already moving to South-South. Ebony slaughter is a baptismal symbol that Dave Umahi has been welcomed to a party. Israel from Ogijo. Okay, that's all.
All right. This is still the newspaper review on Women Radio WFM 91.7. Do well to be part of this conversation here. Send us a text or a WhatsApp message on 070-317-56537. All right. Britain actually expresses concern over Nigeria's worsening insecurity, offered to help. It's on the This Day newspaper this morning. Britain has expressed grave concern about what it described as the deteriorating security situation in Nigeria and pledged to help the country tackle insecurity. The UK Minister of Armed Forces, James Hepburn, and the British High Commission to Nigeria expressed worry at the situation of security in the country, adding that London was keen on helping Nigeria win the fight against insecurity. They spoke at different fora during engagement in Abuja between Monday and yesterday. Britain pledged that to help Nigeria combat insecurity just came as the United States, in a report released yesterday, spoke up Nigeria over the human rights records, but said that it could not confirm the accurate figures of casualties during the shooting at Lekki toll gate last year, and says we are extremely concerned about the situation, the current security situation. I mean, Nigeria is facing a lot of problems everywhere: in the northeast, terrorism; in the northwest, banditry, kidnapping; and in the middle belt, the farmers' herders conflict; in the south, Niger Delta conflict everywhere, and the succession movement in the southeast. So Nigeria is really struggling. This was what was told to journalists in Abuja on the sideline of a reception to welcome home the 2019-2020 the UK Chevron scholarship beneficiaries. Now let's look at this. The help. You are someone who have particularly said we have what it takes to deal with this issue of insecurity, but I think one of the things UK have particularly helped us to identify here, which I want us to do, is they've categorized the security situation into 4 categories: terrorism, banditry, kidnapping, farmers' herders clashes, and succession. Right now, addressing all of these issues, with the situation of things, are we not supposed to be open arms? Are we not supposed to open our arms to receive this help?
Well, Nigeria has always been opening their hands to receive helps, but by the time the help comes in and they're able to see the loopholes, they always withdraw back. I tell you, if that's not what has been happening, this issue of terrorism and banditry will have been a thing of the past.
So
Don't forget
what
that
can
the
be done
United
differently?
States
Yes.
offered to help sometimes back
Okay.
years, and by the time they came in and saw the whole thing, they have to leave. They couldn't stand it because they saw the corruption in it. When I say corruption, it's not the money, it's not monetary alone that is corruption.
Yeah.
The attitude, the body language, the reactions, uh let me say what you make available, the resources you make available to fight the insurgents, to fight the terrorism. These are corruption. When you look at it, corruption is not basically has to be in terms of money only. No. What about the attitude, the way you do things? It's also depict corruption. And that was what played that. We welcome the idea of the British coming in because actually, like I said earlier, they are the cause of this problem. So if they can come in and cleanse it, yeah, we'll appreciate it.
Are we going to now? I'm thinking top of my head. If we're going to cleanse this problem, how far back do we need to date the foundation of the problem?
You see, you don't have to go back to the foundation of the problem, not far back. It is the root that it has taken now that you kill and must be addressed. The moment you can address it, I tell you, the past is gone. But we're talking about now. Now is okay now, as it is now. If we want to put everything to bear, I want to end everything as it is. Let me give you a scenario.
Okay.
Mr. President, all his appointments has been one-sided, whether you like it or not. If that one is addressed, you follow the federal character status as it is. You know that one is addressed. It doesn't matter whether it happens in years back. It doesn't matter anymore. The moment it's addressed, it's done. Then you put certain things in place that this is the way it's going to be enforced. That ends it all.
Okay.
Now, if you look at it, you are looking at the Boko Haram aspect. You are able to fight it, stand still, and you have victory over them. And you now put certain things in place that every northern child must go to school. You make it mandatory. And you make it mandatory to the extent that they can only be admitted to other schools based on merit, not on quota system.
That's a whole different ballgame entirely.
That's corruption I'm talking about. A lot of things that you see, corruption is not basically monetary aspect. You get admission to the university, you said it must be above 200, you must be 270 to get, and somebody in the north will score 170 and will be given that same admission that the person that got 230 in the west, in the east, are being denied. It's corruption. Until these issues are addressed.
I feel like that conversation is too big for the time that we have, because I have like a lot more to say, but we do not have the exact time to pin that down. I want us to just take one or two messages on the conversation on quota system in education. I feel like it's really big, and I'm going to pin that down to have it on one of my big questions, to talk about quota system in education. I think it's something that we have not been open enough to talk about it. Yes. All right. Do we have any other messages, Taiwo?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Good morning, Daniel. It is not disappointing but quite ironic that Buhari government is being accused of corruption, being one of the cardinal agenda which the government professed to fight and kill so that it will not kill Nigeria. So it was merely a political deceit by this government. Nigeria Ahelo, Funsho Adeyelu from Ikpaja. And we also have the Boko. Thanks for that remarks. I've been opportune to send my kids to a private school in the early 80s here in Lagos, where the children came from. Families that practice all the major religions, and yet all the children abide by the dress code of the institution. But look at the crisis just created by the current governor of Kwara State as regards to the wearing of hijabs. Jokes from Ikeja. We have a message from Emeka. Doctors' allowance have not been paid. The president is busy gallivanting abroad for so-called medical checkup. This country is falling apart.
All right, I think we have to go now, and I want to say thank you so much. There is a lot to talk about when we begin to take it in pieces, because I feel like that's like the new one of the things I want to particularly do, going forward in this next quarter is not to say, let's talk about security in Nigeria. No, let's pick a piece of that security situation. Let's address it. Let's take a piece of that corruption. If it's from education, what aspect of education do we feel they have not addressed? Let's pick a piece of it. Let's expand that one piece, because it looks like always having this ambiguous conversation of, corruption, education is faulty, has not helped us to necessarily put the round peg in a round hole.
Daniel, you see, I'm sorry for cutting you there.
Yes.
I think you media houses, you have a big role to play in this matter we're talking about. And most times, I always see that you people find it difficult when certain people are expressing their views in a particular way. You try to cut them off. You see, let's look at United States. We see what has played out. You see the way CNN addresses the government of Trump, and yet nothing was done about it. You see, we must, until we come to that level, that you, the press, you are able to allow people to express themselves freely, so that the government will feel it. You see, by the time you are cutting us from expressing ourselves, you are not helping the situation. You are not helping the situation, because you see the way the people are feeling. Let them express it. Okay. Life is hard. Things are hard. People are dying. They are dying not because of diseases. They are dying because of this problem of Nigeria, the abject poverty. People are dying because they don't have what to eat. Their children cannot go to school. Psychological problem. People are going insane. Please, let's talk about it. Allow people to express themselves. Until then, that's when Nigeria can move forward. Okay. You press has a big role to play.
We do have a big role to play, and we're not downplaying our responsibilities. Thank you so much. I'd really like to just pen my thoughts there and put a halt to it. Thank you so much for taking your time to join us this morning on the newspaper review. This is a wrap on the newspaper review. Special thanks to Adeyemi Adeolu and to Taiwo Adelaye for joining us this morning. My name is Daniel Adaja. At 9 is the news at 9, and at 9:15, the big question. Good morning.
We are WFM 91.7, the voice of women, using radio as a tool for women development. We condemn the abuse of women, girls, and children in any shape or form. WFM 91.7, the voice